A federal high court is asking INEC and Professor Mahmood Yakubu to act in the case of Anambra federal seats or face consequences of disobedience to court order. That's our focus on the program. So many thanks for joining in, everyone. I'm Sean Joaquin Baloye. Let's now begin with bringing you some of the political stories we're following right now.
Political roundup on Channels Television. Here are your top political stories this time.
Hopes of electronic voting in Nigeria may now be brighter than ever, as the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has hinted on the need for stronger efforts in the use of technology in elections. Professor Yakubu has asked state electoral commissions to take the initiative further in order to help sanitize the nation's electoral system. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission is set to conduct 2 by-elections this weekend. The elections are expected to hold on Saturday, 28th May 2016. The Commission will conduct by-elections into Nasarawa Toto Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State and Okeero State Constituency of Kwara State. And workers in Nasarawa State in Nigeria's north-central region may soon have some reasons to laugh to the banks. This is because the Governor Tanko Al-Mukura of Nasarawa State is planning a review of salaries of his workers. The governor has inaugurated a 23-man committee with an inclusion of the organized labor to look into the review of the state salary structure in line with the consensus of the stakeholders forum held recently. President Buhari may have it as a major thrust of his administration's agenda, but the Nigerian Bar Association has asked him to tackle issues of corruption holistically in order to return the nation to the path of growth. The group disclosed this at an interactive session with members of the bar and bench. The immediate past chairman of the Anti-Corruption Commission of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Yusuf Ali, says there's an urgent need to stem the tide of corruption in Nigeria. He stresses the need for Nigerians to join the fight against corruption in order to rescue the soul of the nation.
We either go to war against corruption in all its ramifications, or we shall be consumed by this hydra-headed dragon.
And you're up to date. Those are your top political stories you need to know.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's now go into the main issue of the day. You remember the scenario on the long-drawn leadership battle in the PDP in Anambra State. Well, you know how it snowballed, with Mr. Ejike Ogwebego and Kenemekaye battling for who really is the chairman of the party. The case after the Supreme Court gave its judgment caused confusion on the rightful occupancy of the state federal seats won by the PDP in the 2015 general election. Let me quickly show you how it all started in this timeline. All along, just before, after the elections into those offices, there have been long-drawn battle over who exactly is the rightful chairman or the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State. On the September 2013, there was a federal high court order saying that the PDP and INEC to recognize and deal with the Ogwebego-led state executive. And up until October 2014, INEC wrote PDP recognizing Ogwebego as the chairman of Anambra PDP. On November 6, 2014, the Kenemekaye filed suit seeking extension of a tenure to 2017. On November 28, 2014, the Federal High Court nullified Emekaye's case. But in December of that same year, Federal High Court in Abuja delivered a judgment directing INEC to recognize the Ogwebego-led executives as the authentic leadership of the PDP in Anambra State. Of course, effectively, the crisis really began during the election over the list of the candidates for the elections with the Supreme Court on 29th of January 2016 accorded legal validity to the Honorable Ejike Ogwebego-led Executive Committee of the PDP. And on the 15th of February 2016, INEC approached the Supreme Court on interpretation of the matter. But February 24th of February 2016, the Supreme Court declined an appeal urging it to interpret its judgment on an Anambra PDP leadership for lack of jurisdiction. And so the stalemate is that who are the rightful occupants of the federal legislative seats? Several of them, at least 2 senatorial seats, and several of the Federal House of Representatives seats in Anambra State. Some of those who are in the tussle for who are, okay, there you go. You see them there, Senator Salah Udua, Senator Andy Uba, Mr. Chris Uba, Mr. Annie Okonkwo. All of these people are in the fray, battling to who exactly are the rightful occupants of these seats in the Federal National Assembly. But again, the big question is the interpretation of the court. What does it say precisely? And let's move to what happened precisely on the 24th of May 2016 in a court order given by Justice T.A. Soho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, asking the INEC chairman to obey directions of another judgment. It also restrains the parties in the suit from acting on any list of nominated candidates for the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State. The order of the court states that if INEC continues to disobey the order, Professor Yakubu, the INEC chairman, will be held in contempt of court and liable to imprisonment. That is it. Yeah, that's it. That's the judgment as we got it from the courts. Well, and let's get perspective into this matter. Mr. Anthony Ofia is of the Ogebe Group, and he joins us from our Abuja studio to speak on the reasons they are pursuing these very case. Many thanks so very much for joining us, Mr. Ofia. One will be wondering, when INEC says it is taking its time to study the judgment and come out with a decision, but you and your group have gone to the Federal High Court to force the hands of the commission to make a decision on that. Why did you go to court to do this?
Thank you very much, Seun. Thanks for having me. Good evening. So you can recall that in January of this year, January 2016, the Supreme Court gave a landmark judgment in which it set aside the ruling of the Court of Appeal and upheld the decision of the Federal High Court. Since after that judgment, there has been a lot of delays in effecting that judgment of the Federal High Court, which the Supreme Court upheld. INEC saw fit to go for interpretation. That request for interpretation was thrown off because the Supreme Court felt that their judgment was clear, as it's for INEC to go ahead and implement the judgment of the Federal High Court, which the Supreme Court upheld. After that dismissal and refusal to interpret, we have written INEC, we have approached the chairman of INEC, we have visited INEC office, we have asked to be given audience. None of this worked. We have written several letters asking INEC to obey the judgment of the Supreme Court. We are baffled that at this time, nothing has happened. So you can recall that almost 2 months ago, the chairman of INEC and the director of voter education of INEC told Nigerians that within a week or so, that they are going to make a declarative statement on the status of the Anambra State legislative matter. Up to this moment, nobody has